So basically, I'm going to kind of go through what we hope is going to happen. I've been listening on the board meeting on Zoom since 5 o'clock, hoping that we would get to that point of it, but they have not got to it yet. So at any point in this meeting, I could just stop and tell you they made the decision to shut down summer activities. But let's cross our fingers and really hope that that is not the case. So I have Ms. Kofer listening to the board meeting still so that she can text me any updates as they come in, and that we can have the most accurate information as possible. That's why I pushed it back about 30 minutes also, is so that I could allow for more time for them to get through stuff. But it was a slow process in the board meeting today. So we're just going to go ahead and talk about the hopes and expectations I have for the band camp and band season right now. And we will hopefully be working off that as we go. So first, I want to start by talking about charms. For those of you new to band, we use a system to keep up with everything from the schedule, forms, finances. When we do fundraising, it goes in charms. Trips will go in charms. Everything really takes place in charms. And I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. We're still in the process of updating everything. The schedule in there is the old schedule. It's not been updated yet, but I'm working through that. And new students will receive their accounts when we receive their paperwork. I know a few of you have already sent that to me, but I have not set up your accounts yet. I will have that done by tomorrow. If you have any problems with charms, though, let us know, and we'll take care of that. We just updated and did the end of the year process earlier today. So it might look a little different when you go in as far as fees and stuff. It's all been moved into the new school year. I held off on that as long as possible in case I needed to answer any questions about last year and finances and such. So just make sure you go and check your charms. They are updating some things this summer as well, as far as they're requiring emails to be in the account so that you can reset your passwords and such. So if you encounter any trouble, make sure to shoot me or one of the band boosters an email, and we'll get you squared away. On that same front, paperwork. So the paperwork, if you download it off the website, it's almost the same, but there is one addition to it, and some of the forms have been changed a little bit. So as we get going, make sure you look at the paperwork. The paperwork has been updated on the join part of the website and on the updates where you can find these slides as well. So this year, you really need the same things. That's the information sheet, fee sheet, payment schedule, emergency information, permission to travel and medical release in the event we get to travel, and the handbook acknowledgement and agreement. Basically, the new thing that's changed there is there's the NCHSAA initial screening questions. Although we aren't athletics and we aren't under the umbrella of athletics, that is we are following their rules as far as we go with band right now. That's the direction by the county so far, is that band camps will follow the directions of the NCHSAA as far as how we can get started and how we do that. So because of that, I've amended a few things in it just as far as student athlete and changing the wording a little bit. But the initial screening questions is part of what I will absolutely have to have on the first day of band camp if and when we get there. Like I said, you can find those on the website, which is linked down there at the bottom of the page under the marching band and join sections. Also, I did upload it under the updates for the parent meeting if you want to go in and find these slides just to keep up. If you've already turned in, I know 1 or 2 people have turned in their forms. The only thing I need you to redo is that NCHSAA initial screening questions form, as well as note the changes made to the fees and payment schedule, which I will go over here, but just be aware that those have been drastically altered to suit this year. So remind. So we're going to slow down here a good bit. So parents, if you can, go ahead and get out your phones. This is parents only. I have 2 systems. Remind limits the number of people I can have in one. And with our size band, if parents and students all join Remind, it very quickly shuts it down. So I have 2 systems. All the same information goes out to both, but one is more suited for the students so that I can also give them music and whatever else we need. So if parents would go ahead, and I'll give you a second on this page, join the Remind for this year. the information is over the side. If you text at JCHS Band 20 to 81010, it'll automatically put you in. This is the official remind now from here on out. The last remind I'll send on any of the old systems or old groups is the one I sent earlier reminding about this meeting. That's to keep the parents of seniors from last year to continue attempting to leave the group and not really succeeding, and then being not too thrilled that they are continuing to see reminds. I know the clarinets have done this. I don't know if any other sections have. Some of the students' leaders have set up their own reminds for their section. Some of them are using the band app and just the group messaging features in it. But you know, if your student, I know if your student's part of the clarinets, they probably already heard about it. If not, they can check with their student leader and get a hold of them about joining their individual reminds. Most of the time, they'll just recopy everything I send on the parents' remind to it. But you know, with some of our students, I know very well that receiving it 4 times is much better than only once. That often gets them where they need to be. So I'll give you just a minute to do that, and then I'll go ahead and talk about the band app. Also, just because it is 7 o'clock at night does not mean I don't have my coffee. So it is decaf though, I will say that. But I'm talking to my band kids, I have to have my coffee. I don't know. All right, if you need any more of that, I think I have it on the last slide. If not, of course, this, like I said, this is already uploaded into the website. So students, it might take you a little longer, so I'm not exactly gonna wait too long for them. And plus, if most of it, just parents are watching, if you'll share this with them. I use the band app for students. Basically, it was designed for bands, but it's, you know, everybody can use it for anything. It allows me to upload files, create group messages, set schedules, send them reminders, all kinds of things. And so this is the one I prefer to use for the students. That way I can share, if we were doing drill, I would share drill through it and such stuff like that. So this is the new one for them. And there's 2 ways they can join it. They first have to download the app from the App Store, but then they, can either use the QR reader on their phone or just search it in the app. And everyone does have to be approved by myself or one of the band staff. But we will do that as quickly as possible and get them sorted in there. I will make sure that happens for every student really before the end of band camp. That way they can stay updated. But that is the primary source of information for students. So, okay. So students, if you have your phone up now, you can go ahead and do that. If not, remember, just pull up the website later and download it. And you can get all this then. Again, all the same information goes to both. This is just the main source for students. Band fees. So band fees typically are $250. And there's an option to fundraise, use monthly payments, all kinds of stuff. And all that usually goes toward, we get band shirts, music, drill, paying the band staff, travel, all kinds of stuff is what we use that for and we need that for. And just to make sure we run the best program we can for your students. But this year, considering most of that is out of the question for right now, we have drastically reduced band fees to $50. And that really is mainly for general needs, but also we do plan to make a band shirt for every student that they receive. And we've already got masks for each kid that, I don't know, we just felt like that was a very commemorative item to have for this unique band year. So those are the 2 main things. And then the rest is, even if we're not going to do drill or a competitive show, we are going to still need music and do pep band stuff and have fun with that. And so the other general band needs will go into that. As of right now, the county has kind of banned travel, and we're not even sure what that looks like. As we go forward, of course, the NCHSAA has pushed the start date for athletics back to September 1st. And then again, it could be pushed further. So we're not really sure what that looks like yet, but in the event that we are allowed to travel at any point, to athletic events, whether that be now or later in the school year, band fees will have to be increased by $50 again, just to cover those costs of travel. But we will make you very aware of that. We can set up payment plans if we need to. We will do whatever we have to. But that is the absolute limit. This year's band fees will not exceed $100 under any circumstances. And again, it'll only incrementally increase that one time should we hopefully get to travel and have to pay for buses at that point. Any of that can be taken care of. There is an option to use PayPal, Venmo, and stuff within Charms. If you have questions about that, you can send me an email. Otherwise, you are more than welcome to send a check to Bandcamp or whatever means you find with that. We will work with you on your band fees. So Bandcamp and the schedule looks like this. It is very unique. So basically the requirements that we were given by the state to work through for athletics, which the county said we need to work with for band, was that we can have 25 people, including myself, outside at the school at one time, and 10 people, including myself, inside the building at once. And so that's kind of how I broke this down and kind of laid it out. All these groups really are over that 10-person limit, so they will take place outside, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But that's the reason we had to structure it like this. On top of that, each student can only be on the school grounds for an hour and a half, and that's the max, an hour and a half per day. So when you find your time and you look at it, you may only attend that session. Should there be conflicts where you need to come, where you can't make your session, I need to know, and we need to talk about it, but there's no guarantee you'll be allowed to come to a different section because of the number limits. So we're gonna it's really strict, and we really have to work around that. I structured it this way because I figured guard and percussion would probably be doing the most physical activity, because the rest will hopefully be just playing and not really focus too much on the marching this time. But I figured guard and percussion had the most physical activity. And then on top of that, I figured guard were the more responsible of the set to take the 9 o'clock setting. I love the percussion, but those who drive themselves at this point, I don't trust them to get up and be at the school at 9 o'clock. So they took the later time to make sure it was cool for them outside, since we will have to be practicing outside. And then the rest just fell in kind of by section order. Each of those times is an hour and a half. You're only allowed to be on campus for an hour and a half. And I need everyone to do their best to be as prompt as possible. And when it says flutes and clarinets at 10:45, if you show up on campus at 10:30, please do not get out of your car and come to the door until 10:45. That just makes sure we have the time running and I'm prepared for you, and that we get going as we have to. Okay, so please try and be as prompt as possible with getting there and leaving, so that way we don't run into any conflicts as far as that goes. The guidelines, and of course all this was laid out in what I sent earlier in the week, last week, it was last week. What I sent last week as far as the band camp instructions, but I just want to go over them verbally with you once to make sure you know. So temperature and health screenings have to be conducted every day. I've got the infrared thermometers that I just get to shoot at your heads and kind of get your temperature going there. And I have to do that every day when you come in, as well as ask you a series of questions to ensure that in the past, 24 hours since I'd seen you, you hadn't been in contact with anything weird. And I have to do that every day. So that cuts into our hour and a half as well, which is one reason I need you to be prompt so that we can shuffle through that as quickly and effectively as possible. I say all paperwork, and I do hope all paperwork, but the one thing I cannot bend on is that NCHSAA initial screening questions. That has to be given to me either when you get there or emailed beforehand to myself or one of the band boosters, so that we can have that filed away and go through that before you're allowed to stay for that first practice. Masks need to be worn whenever possible. Whether that's, when we're playing, obviously, not exactly going to be able to wear one, and we'll make sure we're spaced out appropriately then. but please be sure your student has one accessible and with them when they come to band camp. Whenever they go in the building, they will be required to wear it. And when we're not actively playing instruments outside, I will most likely have them keep it on, just for the highest precaution. Since we will have to be outside most of the time, dress in cool clothes. I say this I've said it last year, I guess not every year. I heard Mr. Street say it countless times before I took over, and we always still have someone show up in thick, black, long-sleeved, long-legged everything, and they wonder why they are so hot. So please, please, please dress in cool clothes. Make sure that you're wearing light colors and school appropriate, even if, no matter how cool you might be in non-school appropriate attire, don't do it. And we will most likely be outside for the entire rehearsal time. We are working on getting a good number of tents set up so that most of the time we can stay in the shade and keep as cool as possible, but still stay as cool as possible as you're planning what to wear every day of band camp. And then on top of that, bring your own water bottles and water. Due to COVID and all the restrictions, we are not allowed to provide any water at this point. So if you don't bring your own, either reusable or plastic bottles to throw away, we won't be able to give it any to you for the hour and a half you were at the school. And that is just to reduce transmission and contact. And last, for all the wind instruments, it'll be a lot easier for all students to obtain a flip folder and lyre specific to their instrument prior to the first day of band camp. Guard, of course, doesn't need that. Drumline, we do a few different things, so they won't necessarily need one. But please make sure you attempt to have one by the first day of band camp. You can get them on Amazon, at any music store around here, and they can help you get one. But make sure new parents, they are specific to the instrument. And the lyre is the part that goes in to hold the flip folder, and the flip folder is, of course, what holds all the music. This will make rehearsal so much easier than attempting to deal with a music stand. There's no telling what the wind would be like any given day. And on top of that, sanitizing all the music stands over and over again, it would just be far easier to have that. We can work with music stands. However, if possible, please try to have the flip folder. I just see Lily said hers is in the band room. So if your stuff is in the band room and you didn't pick up anything last year, it is still there. I didn't touch anything in the band room. I've barely been in the band room since we went virtual, but everything you left in the band room is still in the band room, and is still exactly as you left it. I will tell you, we had a little bit of water issues with the giant storms we had in June, but none of that reached lockers, none of that reached any of your personal stuff. So that is exactly as you left it. On to the competition season. So with the size of our band, there's absolutely no way that before October, when competition season would start, and I'm actually kind of surprised that competitions haven't started canceling quite yet. There's just no way we'll be able to have our entire band together on the field, putting together drill before October, and by then it's too late to put together a competitive field show anyway. So we are not competing this year. Even if something presents itself later in the year, it will be for fun. And this year will be devoted to having as normal of a season as possible, as much fun as possible, and just enjoying our time in the band. If the opportunity presents itself, we will learn and perform some type of show, even if that happens to be in the spring or later in the fall. We will figure that out. We will work through it. But my entire goal for this year, is to make sure that we have as normal of a season as possible, and that our seniors especially get to enjoy a band season like they always have. Even if it's later or it looks a little different, I don't want this to affect, I don't want to let COVID affect our season. So we're going to do that to the most of our abilities. I'm not, like I said, I'm not against holding a marching band season later in the year, and I'm hopeful that potentially either maybe sports get shifted around and we have a good football season in the spring and a nice December band camp, or that, we even just try to perform at various things, including baseball in the spring. I don't know, but if we can do that, we absolutely will. I was going to talk about, before I do that, I was going to mention practices, since Maria asked about that specifically. I know that I did not, the information for band camp came late. I was trying to hold off as long as possible to ensure I didn't give everyone hope and then have to immediately rip that hope away. And luckily that didn't happen. I will tell you, I sent out the information, I think last Monday at 5 o'clock or so. And I got a text almost immediately that says the board was discussing summer activities and that I might find out in the next 20 minutes that band camp can't happen. And I was pretty devastated and upset about that. But luckily they didn't choose to do that. And that's why we're focused on the board meeting now to make sure it doesn't happen now. But because of the uncertainties of day to day, we are going to make it through band camp before we make any decisions about practices. We're going to attempt to hold practices. If they look different, we might have to say that, these 3 sections practice Monday and Wednesday for an hour and a half, and these sections practice Tuesday, Thursday, or something along those lines. We might have to shift it around a good bit, but practice information will come a little later when I have a better idea of what the fall and the school year will look like. And we can say we can't say anything with certainty, but when we can say with just a touch more hope that it will happen that way, I will give you that information as soon as possible. For the new parents and for the old parents, I will continue with weekly updates, and those will start coming every weekend, starting this weekend, especially since it's the weekend before band camp. Just this weekend will probably reiterate all this information, and then going forward, it will just keep you updated on everything that is happening as far as I'm learning about it and as we're going with it. So make sure you read those every week. I know last year sometimes certain students would want to overlook it or wouldn't want to read it. And as a whole, I ask that you please, 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 especially in the coming weeks, read every bit of it to make sure you are fully aware of any changes that may have happened in the last week or even in the last hour at that point, to make sure you are as informed as possible. So with this year, there are some changes that will occur, and I'll talk about those as as far as how we're going to run things. And one is that I am going to rely, the weekly update. I will send that out on Remind and on the band app every week. We also do send it out through Charms to any emails that are registered in there. I'm sorry, I should have said all this. And you will either get it through email, Remind, one or the others. It's always a Google Doc that you can refer back to. And usually at the bottom, there's a link to refer to old ones should you need to do that. And yes, that comes out usually every Sunday at the latest Monday mornings. So this year at band camp and throughout the season, as of right now, I'm going to rely heavily, and I think they've already seen this, on our student leaders. And so I wanted to make all students aware of who they were in case they didn't know who their leaders were, and all parents aware of, who might be reaching out to your child. They probably have already reached out once or twice. I asked them this week I asked them really Friday or Saturday to begin contacting every student, tell them and make sure they were still going to do band this year, and make sure they didn't have any questions coming. And so the leaders for this year, drum majors, are Landon Allman, Lizzie Barger, and Corey Jones. Our band captains are Dawson Oliver, Raylan Anderson, and Brandon Nichols. Woodwind captains are Madeline Crawford and Thomas Stewart. Brass captain is Gabe Workman. Low brass captain is Jack Terry. Percussion and drumline captain is Parker Steele. Color guard captain is Sarah Parker. The section leaders for each section are flute, Allie Abbey. Clarinet, Kayla Young. Saxophones, Sarah Carter. Trumpets will be separated by parts, which is first trumpet, James Gardner. Second trumpet, Eliana Hannon. And third trumpet, Davis Brown. And then low brass, or really baritone and trombone, is Zach Young. And tubas will stick with Jack Terry. So this year I'm going to have to rely on them a lot, because with the number restrictions and all the other guidelines we've been given, as of right now, I will be the only person working with all sections of the band. The band staff, who are thankfully working with me very well, and kind of on standby for the moment they can come back and to work with the kids again, are listed there. But for right now, due to restrictions, it will only be me, and so I'm going to have to put some a little more reliance on our section leaders this year than in years past to help me, push upward and forward, and ensure that we are maximizing our potential and doing everything we can under the restrictions we've been given. And so the band staff who will be around as soon as they're able is the assistant director, Anna Stout. Our brass instructor is Adrian Alexander. Color guard is Kristen Swilley, who also teaches at Carson. Dance instructor is Ashlyn Keller Silver, who will just work very closely with Miss Swilley, and she also teaches at Carson. And then percussion is Olivia Goins this year. So like I said, as soon as they are able, I hope and I'm ready for them to be welcome back with us. Of course, for the time being, we're trying to stick to as restrictive as possible to make sure we're being as safe as possible. And that means that as of right now, they will be helping from a distance. The last thing I have for you here, and then I'll get some questions and whatever else I need from you. If you want to take a picture of the screen, or again, it's uploaded, but in case you need the website link or my email, anything like that, you can just snap a picture of this. If you need to contact me in any way, these are all the options that you can do that. My email is listed there. The website has a contact form and all of my information. The Remind gives you the ability to send a message directly to me. And then the band app for students, they also have the ability to direct message me on there. So feel free, if you have any questions about anything I've said tonight, anything going forward, please don't hesitate to reach out in any means you need to. I can tell you that I am absolutely 100% committed to taking as much care of your kids, and I consider them my kids, as possible, and ensuring that we are as safe as possible as we do this. I know that at this point it has been advised that when we start classes, and I see them in class, that we are advised not to work with instruments and not to play instruments that hinder us from wearing our mask. As of right now, there's nothing that says we can't play them at band camp, which does seem a little odd, but we will be outside. We'll take all the precautions necessary. But should something come up and we are not able to play instruments, as long as we are able to have a band camp, I am dedicated to do that, primarily so that we can get back together, learn the basics of marching, have some fun, and just achieve a sense of normalcy in all this insanity. I can tell you that I've missed every single one of the band students since all this started. This has been way too long without hearing your music and seeing your smiling faces. And I've looked so forward to all summer seeing you again at band camp, and then getting to know our new freshmen or anybody that's just joining the band for the first time this year. So unless the board rules that we have to shut down all summer activities, I do intend to work around whatever restrictions that we can still adhere to this band camp schedule, and I can still see your glorious smiling faces for that week until we get back started. So I will, let me see, I'm gonna stop sharing now. Let's see, I'm gonna figure this out again. I'm gonna give you the ability to unmute yourselves if you have any questions. I do ask that as I'm answering questions, we're asking questions. If you are not asking one, students, I'm looking at a lot of you, Parker Thomas, I'm looking at you. Please leave yourselves muted until we are done. I am more than happy to leave this chat open and talk to some of the kids, or let them talk to each other after we handle official business here. Cool? Parker, I'm still looking at you laughing. All right. If you have any questions, oops, let me see. Hold on. I haven't done Zoom all summer. I got to figure out the buttons. Oh, nope, that's not it. Nope. Hold on. Okay, there we go. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself, and I'll be happy to answer however I can. Bailey, do you have any plans on how band classes will go with the separated days? No. I have looked at it. I've thought about it. I don't know. I'm still considering every option we have. I'm thinking it may look very similar to what we did at the end, especially if they're going to advise us not to play instruments. It may look very similar to where I have you play your instruments at home, and I might have to beg your parents' forgiveness on that. But let you play your instruments at home and then come in and we'll talk through music theory things, and have some fun with it. Like, we're not going to stick solely to music theory and do crazy things like that. So I don't exactly know how it will go. I just know that I have, myself and all the other teachers have a lot of prep to do in getting ready to handle this separated day schedule. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
If somebody's also playing sports as well as being in the marching band, are you going to work with the athletics to make sure schedules don't clash?
Yes. Honestly, I am glad you said that, because that is something I have, it's not even crossed my mind. I didn't think about I mean, it happens every year where students are playing and playing in the band and march and doing sports, but I had not even considered the fact that if they're doing one, they can't come to the other practice right now.
Yeah.
So I will update you on that as soon as I get an answer. But yes, I will work with athletics. We will figure that out. As of right now, with them looking at a competitive season and us not, I'll probably lean heavily in their direction, where students can attend their practices and just stay connected with me and the band, and still be a part of it. So
Yeah, because I want my son to, you know, it's his first year with you, and I want him to be able to do both.
yes.
So, and that's what he wants to do too. So yeah, he enjoys the band, but he also enjoys being an athlete. So
Yes. What sport does he play?
Football.
Okay. So yeah, I'll work with him a lot. If it wasn't these restrictions, it'd be pretty easy.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can only come to the campus for an hour and a half at a time is the kicker I'll have to figure out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they've been practicing 4 days a week in the mornings. So he's been doing that. But yeah, and there's no conflict with the camp, which is great.
Perfect. Good. I will talk to the football coaches and I will figure that out as soon as possible.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk with Amy, by the way, too?
Yes, I will talk to Miss Amy and see what we figure out. Again, should there be an issue, I'm going to lean more to Amy and let you go to cross country more and stay connected with me. But I will make sure that I will talk to them about leaning and working with me one or so days a week. As there's two questions down here. Sideline, yes, is included in the percussion time slot, Miss Beaver. So they will come with that time, because as of right now, the numbers line up to where that'll work out just fine. Should that change, I'll let you know. And then Charms, there is a Charms app for the student side. I'm not sure how well it works, because I do know that they have not updated the side of Charms that I would need in like 10 years. So it won't even let me download it. So there is a Charms app, but I'm not sure how it works. Ms. Stewart did just post in the chat the link to the Charms website. When you go there, you can click to sign in as a student or as a parent. And the code for us is Carson Band. I think it's all lowercase, all uppercase. It's in the Bandcamp information. You will find it there. Ms. Stewart also just posted in the chat. Ms. Martin, I see your question there too. I don't know if you can hear me now because it says you can't. But this whole video will be up posted later if you need it. Yes, Parker.
Will I actually get show mallets this year?
Potentially. I don't know. Depends. You better be real nice and we'll see what we can do. Any other questions?
Oh, wait. So basically right now we're just focusing on playing, not necessarily like marching. Like, well, we're going to figure out the marching part, but like what's like the goal for band camp, basically?
The goal for band camp is to get back together, to see each other, to have fun. I am looking at different. We most likely are not going to go with the Broadway theme that we had intended, but we are still going to put together a selection of songs for a specific show at some point.
I have idea. I have a great idea.
What's your idea?
Okay, I was thinking about hitting it back the old days, so back in the music. So going from like, I don't know, basically like jazz. I want to hit the jazz first, and then go up to
through the
and then
decades.
more. So
Okay.
yeah.
And we're looking at everything. I'll tell you my favorite option right now is an Elton John theme show, because I already have a pretty kicker arrangement for I'm Still Standing sitting beside me, that I found while I was in the middle of the ocean on a sailboat and had to order at the moment right then. So we will see what we do. But that's an option. There's a show that they've offered to us. A company has offered for free to all marching bands across the country called Together as One, to basically kind of unify everyone through the pandemic, and also to help alleviate financial strain on marching bands. But it provides us with free music, color guard choreography, cheer choreography if we would want to get the cheerleaders involved. So I'm looking at multiple shows, but we will do something specific. But
Yeah. I saw Mr. Smith, by the way, Adrian Smith.
Yes.
So yeah, he's doing about something like that too. Think about doing a big show similar to the ones that you have in mind too.
Yes. And I love the idea of it. The point is to get people unified. If we come with another marching band who's done the same thing, we join them on the field. So could be fun. Yeah. Anything else, Maria?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. So Isaiah is switching instruments.
Mm-hmm.
So being in percussion, and I know I heard Parker ask about mallets. Does he need to have mallets of his own, or do you guys provide those? So I know if I need to go get them for him.
We'll provide them.
Okay.
Even if they're not the ones that Parker would have wanted, we provide them across the board for all of them. And when we go to compete and do things, we buy them a new set. So yeah, no, we need to worry about that now.
Okay. Was there any chance, or did it look like you had enough people to do a cymbal line?
No,
Or
I don't think.
Okay.
I think the idea got shut down. Should that change at band camp, I will work through that. But as of right now, that looks like a no-go.
Okay. Yeah. If it changes, let Isaiah know.
Okay. As of right now, we're just looking at a drum line, and we'll have some fun with the cymbals on the sideline.
Okay.
Anything else? Well, if you have more, I will stay on here for a little longer, again, to hopefully talk to the kids for a little bit, to let them talk to each other. And if you have any other questions, you can feel free to hang back or shoot me an email. I see the paperwork. The paperwork is up on the Weebly, carsonhsband.weebly.com. You can find it. So if you click the menu, there will be a whole layout, and you'll see the marching band there. You can drop down to the join page. It has all the paperwork you need, or the updates page, which has these slides, the slides I showed earlier on there. The video will probably go in there once it's done processing, and the paperwork is in there as well. Liberty. I will take care of putting everyone. Oh, well, that's another issue I need to overcome and talk through with administration and whoever else, is the class. Because of course, if we're not doing enough competitive season, I don't exactly know what we'll do with the marching band class. But as of right now, as in the past, and what we'll do this year, is that I will handle that for you. If you're on our marching band roster, I will work with administration. You will be placed in the marching band class for whichever time fits your schedule best. I think this year it's first and third period that I have marching band. So you'll just be placed in whichever one works best. for your schedule. Sight reading. So that is one thing I am excited about, with, even if I'm not excited about not having instruments, but if we're not going to have instruments in class, I am excited to get to focus on music theory, sight reading, and really working with our technical knowledge of music to the extent that we become musical masters. And it'll be so much fun. So if your student is worried about sight reading, do not fear. Your section leaders at Carson have always gone above and beyond to help their new kids learn to sight read. And this year, I think we'll have extra time to put into that too. Anything else? Well, again, if you need me, I'll be right here. Of course, all my contact information, you can feel free to use any of that and let me know. If you had a question you didn't want to ask here, shoot me an email and I will get back to you. I'm usually very quick at getting back at emails. I try to be. Sometimes I fail on that, but I do my best. So if you have something, let me know. All county is still, as of right now, Lizzie, we're looking at all county being perfectly normal, but we will see. I'll tell you that the band directors in the county, most of us are at a high school, because I haven't talked to most of the others, but all the high school ones are, we're pretty optimistic even when we shouldn't be about everything. And we're very hopeful. Like, we haven't even given up on preview show, and we probably should, but we haven't. So we're really working on, we're really working on all of that. So I can tell you all county has not been nixed, and it probably won't be for a long time if it needs to be. So, all right. Well, thank you again. If you need anything else, please let me know. I know I just got one email with some paperwork, so that's very exciting. And I look forward to seeing everyone hopefully in a week and getting started, or at least having some fun and pretending that we're normal band geeks for an hour and a half.